I, 23F, think I have ruined my life and need some major advice. I am now single for the first time since I was 13, and instead of trying to enjoy my single life, I feel like I have completely ruined my life. I was with my now ex-boyfriend, 24 meters, going on 6 years, but I was not happy for a lot of our relationship. We will call him Ray. We have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter together, but he hasn't been present for most of her life. He is a musician and puts his shows, practices, parties, and drinking habits over me and my daughter constantly. I actually posted for advice before on how to go about handling the bad relationship when she was about 9 months old. Even before our daughter, I had feelings of wanting to leave Ray once we moved in together. He was immature, extremely controlling, didn't clean up after himself, and was overall not a great person to live with. He also had a bad drinking problem. But I did love him, and that was the feeling that overpowered any of the issues I was noticing. I also considered him my best friend and would always confide in him. I also clung to our good memories and tended to turn a blind eye to his bad habits, but they were there nonetheless. I would bring up the problems and he would try and fix the issues, but he would revert back to his old toxic ways after a week or two. It was a bad cycle. I would get mad at him, he would promise change, he would show change, I would not be mad anymore, he would revert back to his old ways, I would get mad again. Rinse and repeat. I felt very taken for granted because I was always so great to him, and felt I was a very relaxed girlfriend towards him. I never got jealous or mad about female friends. I didn't usually get mad about him playing shows all the time, practicing with his band till late, and coming home drunk usually. That is, until the baby came, of course. I matured up for her and expected him to as well. I tried to set a higher bar for him and voice my unhappiness, but it usually fell onto deaf ears and there was no change. So once our daughter came, we moved in with my parents because I knew I would need the help. My mom was more present with her than he was, but our relationship in a way was better than before due to the help of my parents, baby-wise and financially. I was still in love with him and would always try to write off the bad ways he would treat me and turn a blind eye. Even though my parents constantly pointed out the fact that how he was treating me wasn't okay. I always ignored their comments though because I loved him. But I felt myself feeling like a single mom still because he was never around, and when he would be high or drunk, or wishing he was with his friends instead, and annoyed when I would ask help of him. One day, completely unexpected and out of nowhere, I met someone. Someone I fell for really hard. Talking to this guy made me beyond happy and made me forget about all the bad/sad things in my life and my unhappy relationship. He had a child close in age to mine, we were very, very similar personality-wise, and the way we noticed each other was because we had matching tattoos. The tattoos were music/band related, and I have never met someone with this band tattoo before, nor someone that loved this band as much as me. We will call this guy, 23 meters, John. I would talk to John as friends on and off since I met him for about a month. I would delete the messages cause Ray was very controlling and I knew he wouldn't want me talking to another guy even as friends. But I wasn't liking John as just a friend and I could tell he was liking me too. Now, at this point I hadn't even talked with John about Ray. He hadn't asked if I was with my daughter's father, but I think he assumed I wasn't. I never said I was or wasn't. John was everything Ray wasn't. He had a good paying job, he was stable, he had his own place, he was polite and a gentleman. I think that's what made me fall for him even more. My daughter loved John by the way, and he was great with her. I always longed to see Ray engage in cute ways with our daughter but would rarely see that, and I loved seeing John make an effort even though he barely knew my child. His hands-on fatherness was one of his hottest traits, in my opinion. One day, Ray and I got in a horrible fight when he came home drunk. He spat on me, threw water on our child saying she wasn't his, and told me he didn't want to be with me. He said he was just with me for the baby, and that he didn't love me anymore. It was horrible, I have never cried so much. The next day he claimed he was blackout drunk, didn't remember what he said, and cried to me and swore he wanted to be with me. Being my forgiving self, I took him back after about 3 days. Once things settled down from that we tried to make things work for our daughter. I tried so hard to the point that I was almost faking being happy with him, maybe to fool myself more than fool him. Then he declared that he was going on a 2-week tour with his band. Barely even consulted me about it. I was super sad, and again felt taken for granted and like me and my daughter were put on the back burner of his life. While he was gone, John told me he liked me. I told what was at the time a small lie and told John that me and Ray didn't try to get back together after that fight, and that I was single. I told him we still lived together, weren't together, and have had a bad on and off relationship for a while. The first and last statement were true, not the middle one though. The weeks after Ray left for his tour were the best weeks of my life that I spent with John. I haven't been that happy in years. I felt alive. I felt like I was breathing fresh air for the first time. John was great to me and we did so much amazing stuff together that Ray never wanted to do. We took our kids to museums, to the lake, on hikes, to parks, to pools. It was amazing. John listened to me in ways Ray never did. He complimented my art and my mind, told me how gorgeous I was, and made me feel special. But I still hadn't properly told Ray it was over. I was procrastinating pulling off the band-aid. One night, things got carried away and I had sex with John. It was amazing, and made me fall for him harder. Before that day, Ray had been the only guy I had ever had sex with because I lost my virginity to Ray in high school. When I went home the next day after sleeping with John, I got a text from Ray and I sobbed. I felt so guilty. I was a cheater, a horrible person, and a liar. I felt like I had betrayed both of them, and I felt at that moment like I ruined my life. I ruined my 6-year relationship with my high school sweetheart and father of my child, and at the same time ruined my first chance at a relationship with an actually good man due to lying and not being able to properly end my relationship. So I worked up the courage to call Ray and tell him it was over. I told Ray I didn't want to be together and that I wasn't happy, and that I felt he was more focused on music than our family. I told him I was tired of fighting and that I was going to let him do what he loves, his own thing. It was freeing telling him this, and I didn't regret it. He didn't take it at all as I expected and freaked out. He was sobbing and begging me to take him back. He said he would never take me for granted again and to please give him another chance. This pulled at my heartstrings because I still very much loved him. I just wasn't happy with him and was tired of being taken for granted and feeling like a doormat. So I refused to try to make it work and stuck to wanting things over. He insisted it was cause I was leaving him for someone else, and I continuously lied and said no, that I just wasn't happy. It was true, I wasn't happy with him, but I was leaving him because I wanted to be with John, and John made me happy. I had been wanting to leave him before John, yes, but I didn't have the courage to before experiencing what it was like to be actually happy in a relationship. He said it wasn't fair because I didn't even seem like I wanted to break up before he left to his tour, and I agreed to that. I do blame myself in the sense that I was trying so hard to make it work after that fight that I didn't show any signs of not wanting to be together at that moment. I had been trying so hard for a long time and hiding my unhappiness due to our daughter. After he wouldn't stop accusing me of being with someone else and trying to talk to me about why I wanted to end things, I came clean. The guilt was killing me anyway. I told him I met someone else, and that I wanted to be with someone else. Coming clean felt amazing. The guilt of cheating on my best friend of 6 years was eating me up, so I felt better telling him. But he did not handle it well at all, as expected. But surprisingly still he was not very mad at me, and wanted to get back with me more than anything. Instead he was mad at John and said it was his fault. He also said he would change and swore up and down if we got back together he would never bring up John and he would be a better man to me and our daughter. He said he understood why I cheated because he wasn't being a good man to me, and that he forgave me and would change. When I kept turning him down, he started threatening suicide. Daily. He would threaten to kill himself outside of my home that I live at with my parents and our daughter. He threatened to kill himself on Facebook Live. He threatened to get into our car and kill himself there. He even messaged John on Facebook and told him to please tell Milky Way to take me back. And I know you are with her, tell her to answer my calls. Things were going great with John up until this, but the weight of Ray threatening to kill himself over me was taking its toll on me, and John could tell. He wanted a relationship with me but could tell I wasn't ready. I think my emotional baggage due to Ray started driving John away. I don't blame him, Ray had no business messaging him and involving him. John told me we needed to distance ourselves from one another while I sorted things out with Ray, but he said he felt very strongly for me and didn't want to lose me. I agreed because I was falling for him hard, but was disturbed by Ray's behavior. But, even after John told me we needed distance, we continued to have sex, so I thought things were still okay with John. We also were making plans and seeing each other with the kids regularly after that brief talk. One day, out of seemingly nowhere, John stopped responding to any of my messages. A week went by and he outright blocked me on all social media. And blocked my number. I was beyond hurt and confused. Crushed. I thought maybe Ray said something to him, but he had blocked Ray after he messaged him those 2 messages. I had a friend check John's Facebook and saw that he had put that he was in a relationship with someone else. Oh. That makes sense now. But how could he move on from me in just a week? And how could he block me and not have any contact with me at all anymore when he said he had feelings for me too? I've never been more hurt and confused. So here I sit, ghosted by the guy that I basically ended my 6-year relationship for. Yes, my relationship wasn't happy all the time, but Ray was my best friend, And we still had a lot of great memories. John showed me a new relationship and gave me the courage to end my bad relationship, and I want the feelings back that I had with him. But he's gone now, and has already moved on, and has made it clear that he wants me out of his life. I still have feelings for him, feelings stronger than I can describe, and I feel so crushed because all I want is to talk to him again. I have never felt so alone. Most of my friends were shared friends with Ray. I feel like I have truly ruined my life. I come here asking, was what I did wrong? Is this my karma for lying? Part of me really wants to try to make up with Ray, and try to make what we once had work. But I wasn't happy, and I fear I will just fall back into the depressed hole I was in when I was with him. Plus, Ray keeps telling me that I ruined my life, ruined our family, ruined our daughter's life. And I'm sadly starting to believe it. But I want John back. I at least want to talk to him and see what happened, why he chose to block me. I need closure. I need to know why he got with someone else so fast, despite the fact that the last time I saw him we made out and almost had sex. And he told me how he couldn't wait to see me again. I want him so bad, and I think about him and what we did together all the time. And at the same time I think about how I ruined things with Ray over him. I felt like John was saving me from my toxic relationship, but now that he's gone, a big part of me really wants to go back to that relationship. Even if the relationship was bad, I feel like trying to make things work with Ray will feel better than dwelling on the fact that John ghosted me. Plus, I was comfortable with Ray, and I want our shared friends back. I feel miserable almost constantly, and I have lost my drive and motivation to do anything I used to love to do. I'm just trying to keep positive for my daughter and hoping things get better. I have reached a new low in my life.